If it fits your macros, or what we also call flexible dieting, is one of the newcomers on the scene. Actually, isn't a newcomer. I used it years ago. I still use it to a certain extent, a little bit, because I'm a physique athlete. And so when I started my career, about 35 years ago, we weren't calorie counting. I did calorie count just out of interest, but it was always about the macronutrients. We looked at proteins, carbs, and fats with every meal. So I learned that way, but again, I didn't count them. We didn't have percentages. We just put them on our plate and we watched our body fat and the scale weight go down over time. That was how it was gauged. So if it fits your macros, or flexible dieting is about hitting your numbers. And the numbers are about finding your percentages of the macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, and putting them into a formula. So this is kind of how it works. So I used me as an example. So basically, you split your percentages up according to your goals. Now, your coach can help you with this, and it can change too, whether you're a physique athlete, whether you're an endurance athlete, whether you sit for your job, whether you're just into weight loss. It all kind of depends on who you are, and like any eating style, you have to play it for a while and see what works and alter it along the way. You're not going to get it right at the get-go. What I like about if it fits your macros is it's pretty set in stone, and every day you can look at your numbers and be on target. What I don't like about it is that it can create or add to eating disordered or disordered thinking. Some women get overzealous or they get caught up in the numbers. And as a lifestyle athlete, as a woman who's managed her food in different ways over the years, I have a pretty solid understanding and a real good relationship with food. But even me, when I get into the numbers and the formulas, I start going a little wonky. I start getting a little OCD, and I don't like that part of it. A lot of this depends on your personality type, admittedly. So some women enjoy it because they like the certainty and they like the tracking, and other women don't want anything to do with it because it brings up old stuff. And it can take the fun out of eating. So it depends on your personality. But here's how it works. We have different formulas of the percentages of protein, carbs, and fats. So first thing you have to do is, what is your ideal body weight? So let's say right now I'm at 125 pounds, and is body weight times 12 or times 10? And so times 12 if you're under 40 years old, which I'm certainly not, times 10 if you're over 40 years old. And that's because our metabolism naturally slows with age. Again, these are numbers that you can play with, but the averages, you need to start somewhere. So for me, 125 times 10 works out to 1,250 calories a day. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the smaller the person you are, the less you get to eat. That's the way it is. And then if I go into show and I lose another 10, 15 pounds for show, I'm eating even less. So that's one important factor of understanding if it fits your macros or any other kind of weight loss plan, is that your calorie consumption is going to go down as you lose the weight, and you need to manage that change. So for me, I'm at 1,250 calories. Now the splits, you can do any kind of different split. You can have protein at 40, carbs at 40, fats at 20. You're going to have protein at 30, carbs at 50, fat at 20. You can have what some coaches do. What I like to do is do a 30-30-30 split and have 10% to play with. So it all kind of depends on what you work out with your coach or what you're comfortable with. Some women, if they're really into performance-based and they want to build muscle, or they're into high endurance, they might need a carbohydrate rate of 40 to 50%. Now, for me as an aging athlete, and I'm not putting on muscle, I'm maintaining muscle, I can drop that down to 30%. There are some days, again, when I'm not in the gym training, I will drop my carbohydrates down to 20%. I know my body can handle that without going into a compensation system where I plateau, because I've done this for years, but everybody's different. If you're generally eating 50% carbohydrates and you drop that down to 20% carbohydrates, you're going to create a plateau. So rules apply here. So what we do is I'm going to take the performance one is 30% protein, 50% carbs, 20% fats. 50% carbs I know is too high for me. That would be about 600 calories in carbs. Divide that by 4, that's 150 grams of carbs. It's too much for me. I know that I can't take in 150 because I start to gain weight pretty quick. So I'm going to drop that down. So I will do a 40-30-30. So with a 40% protein, 30% carb, 30% fat, what that works out to in a 1,250 calorie diet like mine, because I'm body weight times 10, which is my ideal body weight where I want to be, let's just say, then I'm 500 calories protein, 375 calories carbs, 375 calories fats. Now, all of this is in your booklet, so you can figure out your own numbers in there. We now have to convert them. So again, there's 4 calories in every gram of protein and carb. There's 9 calories in every gram of fat. So I have to take those amounts and divide. So 500 divided by 4 calories is 125 grams of protein. 375 grams of carbs divided by 4 is 100 grams of carbs. And actually, that's perfect for me. Between 80 and 100 is good for me. I know from years of doing this. And then my fats, 375 grams of fats divided by 4 is 40 grams of fat. That's a little bit higher than the average person because I'm at 30% fat, but my body likes that. And because my carbs are a little bit lower, then I can absorb the higher fat. So protein is usually in most diet plans what I like to see as a coach, and what I give my clients is protein is the stabilizer. It doesn't change much, but you alter carbs and fats. Those are the ones that you play with more. So in this scenario, they like to see 1 gram of protein per gram of body weight, which is perfect for me. 125 grams of protein, 125 pounds of weight. So it works out beautifully for me. So I will stay at 125 grams of protein. So that would be 30 grams at a meal if I'm eating 4 meals, or 25 grams at a meal if I'm eating 5. And then what the intermittent fasting does is it allows you to play with those percentages according to your training days and your non-training days. That's not set in stone, but that's what I like to do with myself and my training clients. Depending, if they have a sitting job like I do, I have to drop those carbs back. And I might even drop the fat back, drop the calories down, but keep my protein consistent because I'm not moving. I have a sitting job now. I used to be in the gym training people, but I don't anymore, and I have to look at that. But if you're up and moving about, you probably don't have to change much from your training and non-training days, because it's really not about the training. It's about the movement throughout the day that matters. Okay, so 1 hour of training and 6 hours of sitting is not going to really boost your metabolism that much. But if you're training and then you're moving in your job, and I'm not talking sitting at a desk and going up every 20 minutes to go to the washroom. I'm talking, a manual job. I waitressed for years. I was carrying plates. I was cleaning. I was mopping. That's a manual job. My calorie intake was way higher. I was about 1,700 calories when I did that. So we have to manage that as well. So the percentages are set. My calories are set at 1,250. And my protein, carbs, and fat amounts are set. Now what we do is we plug this, we've converted the macros into calories, and we plug that into an app. So there's MyFitnessPal, there's My Macros, I think is another one. There's a whole bunch of different apps out there, and some women like that. I like pen to paper. I now can eyeball exactly what 30 grams of protein is for me. I don't want to be in the numbers game, and I use this one lightly because I learned this 35 years ago before it was a popular diet. We looked at macronutrients, but I don't like the numbers. I don't use an app. I don't like getting caught up in it, and I don't like how it makes me spin out and always think of numbers and always think of food. Because the way I see healthy eating is you think about food because your metabolism's telling you you're hungry, you go eat, and then you stop thinking about it until your body signals it wants another meal. That's a healthy way to be. And this kind of stuff doesn't necessarily work for me. Again, it has to speak to you guys. What I like about if it fits your macros is that it doesn't cut out any food groups. It doesn't demonize any food groups. You have your percentages and you fill in as you want to. You can work around social situations. If you're going out that night, then you're going to probably eat more and you're going to back off a little bit during the day so you can fill in those amounts and see where you're at. So you could change the timing and the size of your meals according to if you have a social outing or something like that. You can change it around your training, as I mentioned. So you can, I like to have my bigger meals, 1 to 2 big meals before my training because I need that energy. And then I lessen afterwards because I don't need it as much. That's how my body works and how I've trained my body to work. So I can have bigger front loading and have lesser after. If you're training in the evening, you might want to have more food around your training in the evening. So again, the numbers are flexible. You just have to make up your numbers by the end of the day. The cons is, this is where they started calling it the Pop-Tart diet, because you'd say, well, wait a minute, I got carbs in here, here, here. I've got my extra carbs I haven't made up. I'm still short 40 grams of carbs. And so pundits of the If It Fits Your Macros said, you can fill it in with anything. Eat Pop-Tarts, eat Oreo cookies. And so it's kind of become a little bit loosey-goosey, an excuse to overeat when it shouldn't, because healthy foods and enzyme-rich nutrient foods are supposed to rule the day. But some people look at it like, oh, well, I've cut my carbs over these meals. Now I've got these extra carbs, because you want to make up your numbers at the end of the day. That's part of if it fits your macros. And they make up the numbers with not so great choices. So it's kind of a little bit askew that way, but the sensible person is going to say, no, I'm going to have a half a cup of rice with my dinner. That would be my carbs. So there's flexibility. The other thing that's a little bit of a con that they're starting to break away from is if you don't make your exact 125 grams of protein, you don't have to make up for it at the end of the day. A little surplus here will end up as a deficit there the next day, and it all evens out. So don't be so tied into the numbers. Don't be so tied into trying to play makeup, especially late at night. Okay, this happens with women in the workforce that are working all day, they forget to eat, and then all of a sudden I didn't get my macros in, and they try to make up because they have to get it in. The body likes to absorb consistently throughout the day. That's its wisdom, right? What else have I got? So healthy fat or healthy carbs versus unhealthy choices is something that you need to look at as well. You always want to have the majority in healthy choices. So I think the intermittent fasting, if it fits your macros, is an okay plan, and it's good as a coach to get women started on and understanding the value of their food, because it's not about calories anymore. So this isn't about counting calories. You use calories as a formula and a baseline, yes, but like I always say, 1,500 calories of peanut butter makes for a very different body when you have 1,500 calories of lean protein, quality fats, and quality carbohydrates. And that just makes sense. So if it fits your macros is about teaching women about the power of macronutrients, and it's also flexible dieting, meaning you can make up here or there. You can change your percentages according to your goals and your lifestyle. And it's nice to have numbers for some women. They like to have the numbers to stay on track, and that suits their personality. So that is flexible dieting, or the If It Fits Your Macros approach.